Faith Ringgold's art and writing resonate with her rich cultural heritage and her unflinching desire to address social injustice. Faith was raised in Harlem and credits her tenacious spirit and artistic success to a happy childhood and parents who supported her art from the very beginning.
Really, I always attribute my interest in being an artist to the fact that I had asthma as a child. And consequently, I was home a lot, in bed, and it gave me time to myself, out of school. I really started school in second grade. I was the class artist, right straight through school. I was going to City College. I was told that I could major in art and minor in education, and that way I could get a degree in art education, which my family was so happy about, because then that meant I could be a teacher.
Prior to teaching, Faith married and had 2 daughters. But she always worked on her art, although finding a gallery to represent what she called her super realism was a challenge in the early 1960s. At the time, she was influenced by writers James Baldwin and Amiri Baraka. Faith joined the Spectrum Gallery in 1967.
In the beginning, of course, in the 60s, with my political art forms, I mean, people just weren't interested. They didn't want the work, they didn't like the work, they didn't like the subject matter of the work, the American People series, and it had to do with the Civil Rights Movement. The Flag is Bleeding, Die, the Black Power postage stamp, you know, really big, telling kinds of confrontations between black and white people. I was trying to comment on my time. I was trying to be one of the voices, one of the people who had something to say, you know, and I was trying to tell my story.
Faith's social activism continued in the 1970s. She was a feminist, an activist, and championed the rights of black artists for equal representation in major galleries. She returned to teaching, including several years at University of California at San Diego.
What has always inspired me is people and the kinds of situations people find themselves in and how they deal with it. In the 70s, I was making three-dimensional objects. I was making sculptures and masks. I was doing performances.
Faith's family, which includes her second husband, Burdette Ringgold, has supported her art. And her beloved mother, Willie Posey Jones, a highly regarded fashion designer in Harlem, helped Faith design and sew costumes, and later, her first quilt. Mrs. Jones also took Faith and her granddaughters on European vacations, including to the Louvre in Paris. This was immortalized in one of Faith's most famous series of quilts, Dancing at the Louvre. Prior to making quilts, Faith also made tonkas, or cloth-frame paintings.
Because the tonkas were good, but they were limited as to how big you could make them. Whereas a quilt, you could make a quilt the size of this room. This is an art form that was very important as an art form during slavery, came over here from Africa.
Of all the art forms Faith Ringgold has created, story quilts embody her mastery of narrative, stunning composition, and vibrant colors. Tar Beach, the first book Faith wrote for children, and which originated from a story quilt she created several years earlier, won the distinguished Caldecott Award for Children's Literature.
Women communicate through the ages, through their families, with the quilts. And I said, I'm going to do this Woman on a Bridge series. And I'm going to show these fantastic women on bridges with these huge towers, you know, overlooking cities and, you know, overlooking time. When I was a child, growing up in Harlem, and we used to go up on Tar Beach, my father would take up a mattress, and my mother and father and friends would be playing cards. And everybody would be on their rooftops. But the story I made up of this little girl who has all this wonderful power. Because kids always think, even though they're little, they think that they have some influence over their family's future. I was not trying to write a children's story. I was simply writing a story that would recall my childhood. And I was telling my story, which is what I've been doing right through all of my experience as an artist.
Faith Ringgold went on to write and illustrate several more best-selling children's books, and a stunning compilation of her work was published in 2004. Her autobiography was published in 2005, and she paints every day. This prolific artist has won numerous awards and almost 20 honorary doctorates, including her very first one from Moore College of Art and Design.
I feel extremely good about the fact that I have gotten these honorary doctorates from notably schools that are very much invested in art and in women. This is fantastic. And to have Moore College of Art be the first for art and women, you know, my two things. That was great. I loved it.